Hello. Welcome to This Is For Me. I'm your host, Trisha, as always. And this is for the trauma of trying to date. Okay, just let me set the scene for right now. I'm on my couch, post the busiest day of the week and the busiest last hour of my week on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Okay, I'm just going to get into it, guys. So, we know I'm single and I'm on Hinge. I barely ever look at OkCupid, but that's there. And I'm on Tinder. And I've taken several breaks because when I'm on these apps, like looking every day, swiping every day, matching, and then interacting, I begin to lose hope and faith in humanity and specifically men. And I think maybe I'm just going to be single forever. And that is a really appealing option. Not only because I do like my life in general, I like to keep things simple. I haven't been on my own that long as far as like moving out on my own, even though I'm 39 years old. Like, it took me quite a bit to be able to afford to live on my own. So, you know, I do. And everything's nice when I come home, everything's peaceful, all that. But we know I love romance and I love whimsical, swept off my feet moments. And unfortunately, I'm attracted to men instead of women. And that's just what it is. I know there's other genders too. I'm just saying, guys, no one be offended. I'm attracted to cis hetero men, and I know that that's a crime, and I think it's a crime. Honestly, I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't true. Now that being said, I'm not attracted to that many of them. I have a lot of things that I require to be interested, to be attracted, and you know, we all know the trope of someone can be objectively attractive but not your type. So there's that, and then I need my type. And anyway, let me again really get to it. So I matched with this guy on Tinder. I found him attractive. I was even making an exception for a 5'11 guy. Guys, that's generous for me. All right. I really don't like to go under 6 feet. If I'm being honest, I don't like to go under 6'2". But I just read that book, The Finding the One or Calling in the One, whatever. And it said your person might not look like what you expect them to look like. Now, does that mean I'm not going to be attracted to them? No, that's not acceptable. But, maybe they can be really attractive and just a little taller, but not much. Whatever. That's as much as I'm willing to go. All right. They still got to be in shape. They still got to have style, intelligence, all the other things. But you don't find out all the other things until you talk to someone. So here we go. Match with this guy. I thought he was attractive, and I liked that in his profile. First of all, he actually filled something out on Tinder. It wasn't just like Virgo, you know, vaccinated, whatever. He actually wrote, I'm willing to wait for something real, like looking for the one, long term relationship, and, like this style, whatever. So we match and start texting on the app, obviously. And immediately, the first thing most guys do is compliment your looks. Oh my God, you're so gorgeous, da da da. Which is fine. Again, that's pretty standard. I mean, I guess guys don't really know that there's another. You could like comment on something in my profile because I actually have one. We all know I'm long-winded, so I write a lot. I write a lot about myself. It's there's a lot that you could pull from to comment, but whatever. Uh, I ask what he does for work. He asks what I do. There's like banter back and forth. And then he's like, I really hate this app. Can we just like actually, text? And I was like, sure, give him my number. And then I said, actually, can we do you one better? Can we call? Um, because I require that because a lot of times there's texting banter and then you call and then there's nothing. And that happened somewhat recently. I can't remember if I mentioned that on the last podcast or not. It lasted like the conversation with someone lasted about 8 minutes. It was just really awkward and they thought it wasn't awkward. And I was just like, I don't want to waste your time. I don't feel a vibe here. So can you, God forbid, you're in person and someone thinks it's going great and then you're like stuck with them and like in their physical presence. So phone is so important and voice is important and everything. So we try actually FaceTiming. And for some reason, it was weird. Like he could hear me, but I couldn't hear sound. Like I couldn't hear him. And then we try the phone, but then he was getting this weird ringing on my end. And he's like, I'm getting a new phone tomorrow. This phone's totally messed up. It's not you, it's me. But he kept saying, like, I wish you were here with me. Oh my God, you're so gorgeous, this and that. And I'm just like, again, and then like guys do a thing where they just start listing your qualities, like your legs, your hair, your lips, your skin, you're glowing, da 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 da. Cool. Guess what? I mean, it's nice, but also I know what I look like. You don't need to like list parts of me, like break me up into pieces. In fact, that just makes me think again. I just said I need to be attracted, right? But I'm not breaking you up into pieces like put together sex doll, because that's what it starts to feel like. And so this is where I start to question my spidey senses as a woman, right? And I'll get to the whole thing in a minute, but I did keep saying like, okay, but you got to calm down. Like what else, I learned about his dog. I wanted to know the dog's name. I wanted to know about his job. He asked about my parents. He learned that my dad died of cancer and all this. So I want to paint the picture, guys, that this was like between texting and we tried a couple times to see if the phone call connection would work, and then it didn't, but we would try and see if like the FaceTime thing would fix itself, and it wouldn't. But we did that like several different times. So this is like an hour and a half of interaction and intimate, like in my living room. And he did keep asking, like, please send more pictures, which my profile has plenty of pictures. But, I just sent him stuff that would be on my Instagram. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. But that should tell me right away, actually, now, not to victim blame myself, but if a guy just asks for pictures right off the bat, like, I should just be like, no. Like, you have pictures in my profile. And also, I put my Instagram handle in my profile. So if you really want to see pics, like, everything's public. So you could just go there. Um, yeah. So anyway, and I literally sent him, like, there's pictures of me in full length gowns. All right, guys. This wasn't like lingerie pics. This wasn't any nudes, nothing like that. Um, and there was bikini pics because you know what? You are flirting. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't flirting. I was flirting, and the attention is nice. But again, I did state several times, like, let's get on, some substance topics. But anyway, then I had part of me that was like, why are you uncomfortable with someone being so into you that you could be into? Because I'm trying to rewire my brain, and that's a thing that a lot of us do. It's like, why is it so unbelievable that someone you're interested could be like over the moon about you right away? Like, you should be able to fathom that. That should be very much believable because you're worth being over the moon for, okay? So, I'm like double thinking, whatever, over analyzing, like questioning myself. All right. So, long story long, because all of them are, I see that I missed a FaceTime call from him because I like, it's throughout the night. I'm taking out my contacts, switching to glasses, whatever. And then I saw a text. He's like, better that you didn't answer. But again, I don't know what that means. So whatever. So then I FaceTime call him back and he answers. And guys, he is trigger warning for adults only. Okay, I paused. Jerking off in FaceTime, wanting me to see it with this creepy looked like a dark demonic look, like looking into my eyes. And I just said, and his name's Richard, by the way, and he's from upstate, and he flips houses in like the Catskills and the Berkshires and the Hudson Valley area. And he's got like blondish hair, and he's 5'11", and he looks pretty fit. And he has a big dog that's like a Rottweiler or something mix. So I don't know his last name, but I hope that somebody fucking knows him. Okay. Anyway, yeah, creepy ass look, and he knew I wasn't about that because you know what? The first picture he wanted was like, "What do you look like? What are you doing now? Send me a picture of you now." And I was in a sweatshirt with crumbs from my paleo dessert bars on it, and I was and no makeup, and I was like, "This is what I'm doing. This is what you're getting." To which he was like, "Oh my god, that's great. That's like even better than a bikini shot." Which I was like, "That's sweet." Again, this is how he set it up. So he knows like I'm not about that life. Like I said actually before when he kept being like more pictures, I was like, I'm not your personal OnlyFans. And he's like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that anyway. But yeah, I was so right away. I see that, and it like took me a second because he just like was silent. Like he answered, but he was silent, and then I see like his hand, and I see what's going on, and I was like, "You're out of control, Richard." And then I just like hung up, blocked, deleted the conversation, blocked him on Tinder, and then I reported him. But I was so horrified and disgusted. And then at first, I just Marco Polo'd my friend Molly because I thought, I'm just going to tell Molly. I'm not even going to talk about this. Like, this is just, it's one bad evening. It's one bad evening of a match on a dating app interaction. And that's all. And like, how gross. But then, guys, like, and it was like right before my bedtime, it was just like haunting me. It was so disgusting. I was disgusted. I was disturbed. And I hate to throw the word trauma around, but I was traumatized. Like, it was aggressive. It was aggressive. And it's like a form of online assault. And I'm sure there's people that say there's no such thing as online assault. But then you know what else? There's people that have freaking committed suicide because of bullying online. So that's wrong. So you're wrong. If you think there's no such thing as online assault, you're wrong. And don't listen to me. Don't subscribe. I don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with me. Great. We're on the same page. So I was so distraught that I was like working the next day, working the next morning, hadn't said anything. And then I'm just like, I was like shaky. Like I was literally shaken up. Like my hands were shaky. I felt unsteady. I felt sick to my stomach. Just so gross. And I had like told this person like I live in Ballston Spa, like I told them where I paddleboard, and then I felt stupid, and I'm glad that they are 60 miles away. So also use that information. It's a Richard who's about 60 miles away from Ballston Spa. Yeah. And also so glad he kept being like, "Come here. I wish you were here. I wish you could come here. Oh, I wish you were with me." Like, thank God I'm not. Jesus Christ. Uh yeah. So anyway, I'm working and I just am like, guys, I have to tell you something, which is always like, I just come out and like say everything. So this is like they knew something was coming if I have to like pre-warn because I don't pre-warn about anything, even if it's probably inappropriate for work, whatever. Um, and I told my coworkers, the two that told were obviously like they were disgusted and like, oh my God, like they were in shock. And then, they told a couple other people because I was fine with that, like people that I consider friends, at work and like, oh my God, that's so disgusting. That's so gross. It's horrible. And then the next day, so there was one of my coworkers who I've worked with for years, and he's a young man. I refer to him as my son because I realized one day, like, he could be my son if I had a kid at like 17, which is wild because I look 27 and we all know it, even though I'm 39. Like, get it all the time. And he's like 22. So it is wild. But, he's like, oh yeah, what happened? And I was like, oh, I just figured like everyone else told you. And he's like, no. And I tell him, and he laughs. This 22-year-old young man laughed. And he knows me. He's known me for over 4 years. Like, he's known about my long-term relationship. Like, he's known about the next one. He knows the person I am. And he laughed. And I was so hurt and disgusted by him in that moment, too. And I was like, what is wrong with you? That is not funny. That's disgusting. And he was like, what's the big deal? He's like, I saw guys like jerking off like that when I was like a teenager, and I would like go online and you see these old men, and it was so funny, haha. And I'm like, you know what? That's different. First of all, you're gross for like seeking that out, but whatever. I was like, it's different. You were a young man seeking it out, and it wasn't at you. I was like, those old men weren't jerking off to you, okay? And everyone on that website knows what they're going there for. They weren't literally jerking off on purpose, like, I love that you wouldn't expect this. I love that you would be shocked by this. I love that you'd be traumatized by this. Like, the fact that you don't see a difference between that and what I just went through is disturbing and worrisome. Like, that worries me for girls your age, that worries me for all women, and that worries me for young men. Like, if that's a generation of young men that are so numb to the nuances of the differences of human interaction, that's very disturbing. Like, I thought the younger generation of males were like more woke, more feminist, more PC, but apparently not. And it's so gross. And then a different coworker who I really care about and have like formed a really like fast bond with this past year was making excuses for him, saying like, "Oh, well, like he's just different, like, oh, well, he's numb cuz like he would go on websites and look at like, dead bodies and stuff when he was a teenager too, cuz like that was around when he was a kid." And I go, "Oh, really? Well, I had a brother die when I was 8 years old, and I'm not numb to things, okay?" "Oh yeah, I think my great grandmother died that year too, and then like the following 2 years my grandpa died, who I really loved. Oh yeah, and the year before that my other grandpa died. I wasn't as close with him. And then my grandma died. Like, don't this kid has lost no one. This kid has never been close to anyone who has died. The most traumatic thing in his life was that his parents got divorced. So no, no, I you don't get the excuse that you're numb because you've experienced things, because you haven't experienced shit. But the lack of empathy or sympathy or care, and then the other thing that got me fired up was her making excuses for that. I'm like, that is what is toxic. That is what is keeping men like that going, and that's what's going to keep a whole generation of men or multiple generations of men doing this messed up stuff, because it's this boys will be boys attitude of just like, I think one of the things he said is just like, it happens. Like, oh, well, so because it happens, it should just be okay. Or because it happens, it shouldn't be a big deal. Or like, yeah, because rape happens, I guess we should just be like, well, rape happens. I don't know what you're going to do about it. Just, I don't know. Try not to be too upset. Just get over it. Like, and I'm not comparing what happened to me to rape at all, but I'm just saying that attitude is so effing disturbing. And that's the only word I can use. I know I'm using it a lot, but it really is. It really is troubling, especially from people who I really thought were like on the right side of history, on the right side of not just feminism, humanism. And just, there is no excuse for that behavior. And so that's like, I was almost in tears again, because then it wasn't about what happened to me. It's about that I completely lost trust in these people now. Like, what happened to me has revealed a whole new truth or several truths to me about these people I work with. Because, like, it's kind of like that saying of, like, you never really know people. Having that reaction, or a different person who they did open up afterwards, but when I first told them, they go, well, it's Tinder. Isn't that what Tinder's about? Because they've never been on a dating app. And I was like, no, that's not what Tinder's about. Why would I be on Tinder if that was what Tinder's about? I said, no, there's whole categories on Tinder. It's not just a hookup app. There's looking for a long-term relationship. There's short-term fun. There's ethical non-monogamy, polyamory. Again, there's some people that fill out a profile and a whole bio, and some people that don't, because they don't really care, because they are just looking for hookups. And like, obviously, you know me, so I'm looking for the people that have a bio, that say they're looking for a relationship, all this stuff. And yeah, and after an hour and a half of talking to me, like, you already know, but it was just like, it was so upsetting. And then another friend of mine, the way they put it, they really like were there for me and made me feel seen, heard, and understood was it's that they invalidated my feelings and they invalidated my reactions, basically saying like it was unreasonable for me to be that upset or like again, guys, I cannot reiterate enough. I was like shaking. Like when I think about it, I like my hands are visibly shaky. I get like flush. It puts a lump in my throat, and then even their reactions all over again made me feel sick to my stomach. Like I got a sour stomach. To be honest, I've had like bad digestion ever since then. Like I've not my stomach is not regular, my digestive system is not regular because, you know, your stomach and your brain and your heart, like it's all connected, and you know that's why you get nervous stomach, like your emotions are so connected to your gut, and it's totally put me off, and it just made me so sad. It's made me so sad, and it makes me feel hopeless. It makes me feel like I'm never going to find my person because now I'm scared to even look. Like I really am, between just, you know, not hitting it off with people, or you get sometimes you the texting's good and then you give people your number and then that's it. Like once they get your number, you never hear from them again because they don't want to call you, which is really weird because they all will say, "Oh my god, we should hang out," or a lot of them say, "I wish you were here," like right away. "Oh my god, you're so cool. I wish you were here." But then when you're like, "Okay, well, I'm a woman, so for my safety," and again, you would think for them like to not want to waste their time, let's see if we hit it off on the phone before we like plan a date and drive to a location. But once you give them your number, they won't follow up. Like then there's nothing. Then crickets, which I mean, I guess saves me time. Like I don't have to block them or anything. And, you know, you dodge a bullet like someone that wanted to be in physical proximity to you, to have physical access to you, but they don't actually want to talk to you. Well, that's probably a dangerous person anyway. So, you know, it's a process of elimination, but it's just it makes a woman feel hopeless. And there is a whole movement. I know I've mentioned it before and I'm redundant as hell on TikTok. And I know it's my algorithm, but there is a whole movement of women that are done with dating. They're my age. Most of the women are either late 20s to 30s to 40s and up that are just we're done. We pay our own bills, we take care of ourselves, we look good, we're in shape, we're stylish, we take ourselves out, we go places, we do things, we have friends, and we're just like, you know what? There's sex toys if we want our needs fulfilled. And other than that, we lead fulfilling lives. And like have tried the notion of like maybe seeing if there's a partner out there, but like apparently not, because I don't know what's going on with society. I really don't. It's really disgusting. I do think a lot of men will end up having like AI girlfriends. And I say AI girlfriends and not just like sex dolls, because here's the thing I notice, and I hope this changes, is that female friendships have a lot of emotional vulnerability and support, and we have a whole network of friends. We have different friends we go to for different advice, different occasions, whatever it may be. And men, in my experience with men I've been very close to, I've really only known a couple that have very close friends where they will talk about emotional things and they'll do it often. And then I've known a few men where they have close, longtime friends, but they don't really have deep emotional conversations on a regular basis. It might be like once in a great while, but not consistent. Like they don't consistently keep up with what's going on in their day to day lives, don't really keep tabs on each other. And then it's just like a once in a while thing. And a lot of men, why they want a relationship is the emotional, even just emotional labor or emotional outlet. And that can be very taxing on women too. And I'm not saying women don't do it to men. Women do, where they get so swept up in a relationship. I know I've been guilty of this, where you kind of can become very absent in many of your female friendships or other friendships, whether they be male or female. And then you're so swept up and you're isolated in like the throes of new love. And then before you know it, it's not the throes of new love, it's just a partnership. And then they start to get unhappy because their partner cannot fulfill all their emotional needs, but they forget, like, well, you had a network of people fulfilling your emotional needs before, and now you're trying to have that and your sexual needs and your intimate needs and everything fulfilled by one person, and that's just not possible and it's not fair. And that's what happens with men a lot when they're actually seeking a relationship. They're seeking a partner to fulfill all of their emotional needs. When, again, even women can't do that, even if we're programmed to be more available in that way and more, I'll say, like emotionally literate in that way. That's just too much to ask. It's too much to put on one person. And so AI girlfriends, I think, will be a big thing because I think that men will vent to these AI girlfriends. Like, I think men will do their like daily download of what happened at work to these AI girlfriends. And then I think they'll have, OnlyFans or even AI. Like, I mean, AI girlfriends can look very human too. Like, these women, now there's AI influencers, guys, they look real. You wouldn't know the difference. Um, and then, they have their whole like different sexual toys and whatever. And I think that that's what the world is going to come to. And I think real human to human relationships are going to be like, I don't know, vintage or a novelty. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go on a real date with like a real organic farm to table human. Like, that is going to be so rare in the future. And this is why, like, what's going on, but what I just experienced is why. Um, yeah. So I did have a little emergency sesh with a therapist, and it's just like a one off. Luckily, they do sliding scale. And I'm not going to divulge a lot, but I will say this. I came up with a phrase, and they approved of my phrase. And the phrase I came up with is, your perspective is valuable. So instead of me freaking out like I did at work, I had like a very emotional freak out to these two people with their unfortunate reactions and lack of empathy and disregarding my feelings. Instead of me being emotional in the future, I will simply say, in various instances, this is appropriate, your perspective is useful. And just calmly then and just walk away. For example, have you ever been in a room where someone thinks it's okay to make a racist joke in front of you? Like, they think you're fine with that. Meanwhile, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Please don't. I can't believe you think I'm fine with that. I'm offended. Um, but you also know, a lot of us, you can't convert someone who's like that. There's no like in the moment changing someone's mind who's bigoted or in any way. So the the phrase again is, your perspective is useful, and then walk away, because they don't need to know what that means. What that means for me, guys, is your perspective is useful because now I know you're not a trusted person. You're not a person I'd be friends with. I don't fuck with you, basically. I don't mess with you. You're not my people. You're not my kind of human. I won't confide in you. I won't go to you for things. In fact, I will associate with you for only what I must in life, like, say, a job, for example. I'll be civil with you. But your perspective is useful because I will no longer give you the gift that is my energy and my presence in your life unless absolutely necessary. Or your perspective is useful because now I know I don't feel safe with you, either emotionally or physically. Um, and I will not be alone with you. So, yeah, your perspective is useful because you're not a humanitarian, so I don't feel safe with you. Um, yeah, I've been doing regular podcasts this summer. I've been trying to just like relax, enjoy the summer, go with the flow, kind of see how I'm feeling like as a single woman navigating like what kind of dating do I even want to do. And, I didn't know what I was going to talk about on my next podcast. And then this happened. And I'm just so fired up. I had to get this out because this troubling attitude, guys, we have to stop it of just this happens or just because something's online means it's not a big deal. No. When you can connect with someone, when you can hear someone's voice, when you can see someone again, if and OnlyFans workers are workers too. Like they can have consent and boundaries and everything on their own sites. But when you're, with someone who's not and you're not respecting their boundaries, like it's not okay. It's really not. And again, I did learn another lesson too, which is it should have told me everything I needed to know the first time someone he didn't care that I was saying I'm uncomfortable because I did say multiple times, can we just move on? Like you got to calm down. This is too much because he just kept going back to my looks. And you know, that should have told me right away and it will from now on. The second I say to someone, you got to chill or, I'm uncomfortable and they don't care that I'm uncomfortable, that should tell me everything I need to know. If they don't care about your boundaries on the phone, they're definitely not going to care about them in person. So you can just hang up right then and, block and delete. All right. So this has been this is for the trauma of dating. And I believe it's episode 37. Maybe it's 39. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Find me on YouTube. Look up Trisha Kemi on YouTube or This Is For Me on YouTube. At Trisha Kemi on Instagram. I haven't made a TikTok in forever, but if you want to look at my old ones, at Trisha Kemi on TikTok. And I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully, I'll have good news. I did kind of think with all this horrible stuff, maybe, I know I just said bye, sorry. Maybe it's like something good is about to happen because I kind of was thinking of life kind of like a level of a video game. Even though I don't play video games, I'm familiar where like you go through the levels and there's like things you got to jump through and, challenges. But then at the end of every level before you level up, there's like a big demon or a big like battle, something or other, a big challenge. And I feel like that was like definitely the end of a level for me. So I feel like I'm ready to level up in my life. And let's just hope I'm right. Okay. That is all. Be safe.